The 13th annual Hardball is in harm's way. Stay tuned. We'll tell you all about it coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Myrtle Beach Lighting on 17 Bypass, a little south of the back gate of the Air Force Base. We're focused on the 13th annual American Hardball, and we're visiting with its co-chair, Todd Harms. Good morning, Todd.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for getting in early here.
Thanks for having me.
What about this Myrtle Beach Lighting? This place is amazing. Did you walk through here a little bit?
It is. It has some beautiful lamps and
it goes
nice fixtures.
On and on and on. We ought to pop in here and check with these folks about some auction items.
Absolutely.
Have they they probably donated in the past.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Bob Grabowski was with us just a couple of minutes ago, and it's exciting to think about a place like this. You walk around and you think this is really a great opportunity to introduce them to the Hardball if they haven't been in the past.
Certainly.
It really is. How about the holidays, Todd? Did you all have a great Christmas season?
Had a great Christmas. Absolutely. Surrounded by family, and I think that's the most important thing. So we had a great time, and it's good stuff.
Were you relaxing on the Strand the entire time, or?
We were. My wife's parents and my parents both were able to join us here, so we had very little travel.
Great. Are you originally a native of the Grand Strand, Todd?
I'm not. My dad retired from the state as a forester, and so we have always lived here in South Carolina, but all around.
And you grew up where? All around?
All around.
Right.
Spartanburg. We've lived in Chesterfield. My parents now live in Lancaster, South Carolina.
Is that right?
Only about 2.5 hours away.
And your wife's family, are they in South Carolina?
They are. They've just recently moved to Walterboro, and so that's an exciting move for them. They are planting a church there, and they moved from Johns Island, where they had lived for years. So big step.
And you said they're planning a church?
Yes.
What does that mean? You mean they're opening a church?
Yeah, they're planting a church and starting something new there, and it's very exciting. So.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
We're talking about planting a Hardball, and they're actually planting a church.
Yeah.
That's a real mission opportunity. You know, when you think about mission opportunities, you have recently taken on the position, I believe, a new mission opportunity.
I have. I'm the director of adult ministry at church, First Presbyterian Church in Myrtle Beach, and so my predecessor in a lot of areas is Howard Barnard.
Mm-hmm.
Most people know Howard along the Grand Strand, and so he's going to be retiring from the church 1st of February, right. And I'm going to take on evangelism and new member assimilation and missions there in the church.
Is that right?
So, in addition to adult education, so I'm very excited. All those things are closely connected, and so I think it'll be a good fit.
And now, will the mission take you out of town at all? I guess you'll probably have to be going on some trips.
Yes. Currently we have regular trips to Mexico. We take 3 groups each year, and in the last year we've traveled to New Orleans 3 times to help in rebuilding from the Hurricane
Katrina, right?
Yes.
Well, those have been very well-attended trips. I think I've seen some of the pictures in the church bulletins or otherwise. A lot of folks going on those trips.
It is. It's an incredible opportunity. I took my son just in October, and it's funny to say we had a great trip, but truly we did. I mean, it's an opportunity to give back and to really take in just the damage that was done and the incredible way that these people's lives were impacted, and it makes you appreciate what you have here and the stability, the security that we enjoy.
Mm-hmm. You know, there are a lot of people that look at different ways of giving back. One way, of course, through their church, visiting other locations, helping to rebuild. Of course, a lot of folks look at the Heart Association as a way of giving back, if they're
Certainly.
Either in a non-spiritual or even a spiritual sense. A lot of folks look at that as a Christian mission. That is, what was the original push for you, Todd, getting involved with the American Heart Association?
My dad, some years ago, was impacted by heart disease, and he has, just in the last couple of years, he had his second open heart surgery, had quadruple bypass, and he's had a couple of procedures as far as angioplasty and whatnot, and so the research and development that American Heart is responsible for and contributes to has personally impacted me and my family. Just my dad, he's my hero, and so want to do something to honor him and to give back and to make sure that other people whose families are impacted by that same thing have that opportunity to benefit.
Quadruple bypass. Now, is that something that you all knew a little bit about ahead of time, or is that okay? Right,
we did.
Not totally unexpected.
That's right. It was scheduled, and doctors did an incredible job, and it was not here on the Grand Strand, obviously, in Charlotte, North Carolina, but and it's amazing the turnaround now. I mean, he was up and about, later that same day. I mean, no, that's not true. But in the a few days to follow, I mean, he was up and walking around, and they're very quick to get him up and moving. So the surgery is just, I guess, less intrusive, and I think that's thanks to the research and just the incredible advancements that we've made.
The dollars that'll be raised at the Heart Ball, that were raised at the Ride-a-thon a couple months ago, at the Heart Walk, obviously year-round during the school year, jump rope for heart, lots of different ways to, or as well as a lot of folks who just make direct donations through direct mail campaign to the American Heart Association, whatever way. When we're talking about the number one, and is it number 3 killer, number 1 and number 3, heart disease and stroke?
Absolutely.
In America's, definitely in South Carolina, but surely in America as well. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Is this something the Harms family in general are concerned about, or is it principally just your dad? Is that something that you've been monitoring closely, or has your mom had any?
My mom is the picture of health, thank goodness, and she, which is ironic. But my dad is, as a result of some of his issues, he has a strict diet and these kinds of things. But he continues to have some trouble, and that's okay. But I am adopted, and so as far as hereditary issues and things like that, it's a non-issue. But certainly, from the standpoint of my health and being around for my family, it's an issue. I think it's an issue for everyone. I could certainly stand to lose a few pounds and these kinds of things, and I think that the guidelines and the advice of American Heart, the educational piece, it's just as important as the research that they afford.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, the Heart Association, much like the Red Cross, interfaces with hospitals and doing child CPR. And of course, a lot of that, all the hospitals locally take advantage of the Heart Association's methods for their child CPR and the adult CPR classes, which are so important not only for new parents but adults and youngsters of all ages.
Sure.
It really is. It's fascinating. We think February 17th is getting pretty dang close, Todd.
It is. It's just around the corner.
Today's Friday the 12th, so we're really less than 5 weeks away now.
5 weeks.
A lot to happen in the next...
there is, but it'll come together. This is an exciting time.
You and Dr. Andy Gresco co-chairing in this 13th year, and of course when you think about an event like this and so much that happens to get 1,000 folks in a room, particularly at Kingston Plantation, it's the first year back at Kingston Plantation in 4 or 5 years.
It is.
So, albeit you're skilled with, you're knowledgeable of Kingston Plantation. You've been involved with the Heart Ball for...
Absolutely. Kingston, I think, is probably, if you can qualify them as one of the most reliable event providers. And that's, they're so easy to get along with and always willing to, go that extra mile and do whatever it takes to make your event a successful one. And I've been involved with, American Heart doing things there. And also, just through different jobs that I've had and whatnot. And they're always just very consistent, very reliable. And so in that, I'm comforted to know that that'll be one less challenge we have to face.
Absolutely. They had forever, for the longest time, had the largest ballroom or meeting space, convention center, or convention-type meeting space on the Strand until the Marriott arrived. I guess the Radisson, the Convention Center, Sheraton now, Convention Center Hotel has access to a lot of space, but those three, and that is where the Heart Ball has been the last 5 years. 5 years ago at Kingston, then the Radisson 4 years ago, then 3 years of the Marriott, and now back to Kingston. So it's always going to be at one of those 3 locations as long as we keep churning out 1,000-plus events. What's that like preparing to have 1,000 people in a room in one night, Todd?
Well, it's exciting. It's nerve-wracking as well. But at the end of the and I've never been disappointed. The reality is we have an incredible slate of volunteers, and it couldn't be done without everyone who contributes their time and their resources, and it's absolutely a team effort, and it's really incredible and exciting to see all those folks come together and just everything that has to happen, do that, and everyone gets along, and it's a good time. I mean, it's exciting.
That is the big word, volunteers, though. Volunteers. Yes. If a viewer was interested not only in learning more about the event, but thinking about possibly donating an auction item or trying to get a ticket or even buy a sponsorship, is there a number someone could call to, is it the 843-626?
Yes, 3939.
3939. That's
Yes.
the key number to call.
Yep, and they can call me directly, 843 also 241-7218. Glad to take those calls, and glad to set you up with sponsorship opportunities, auction items, anything, whatever capacity that someone would like to get involved.
Great.
I can hook.
I heard that. 241-7218.
Yes.
We're going to get that down. We want to get that on the screen. I mean, that's a great, but of course, 626-3939. And you and I were talking earlier this morning. It's fascinating to think about. We're up getting going, thinking about the Heart Association this close to the event. But to think about donating auction items, to think about all the sponsorship opportunities, and there still are, this far out, some great sponsorship opportunities.
Absolutely. And it's a great opportunity for exposure. It's just the right thing to do. I mean, it's money well spent, and it's great advertising. Everyone has been impacted in some way by heart disease and stroke, and either personally experienced health issues or someone in your family, and so when the community sees that it's something that you support, I think it's a good thing that they know that you are supporting American Heart Association, and so it's just good press.
I think I remember you recently sharing with a small group of volunteers about calling on somebody who had over and over donated auction items and seeing them recently. Would you share with viewers that experience of calling on somebody who had just recently experienced through a family member a heart disease incident? I think at the moment you were walking into the shop.
Yes, we just recently, my wife and I live in Pawleys Island, and so we have had the opportunity to meet some new business owners just in the last couple of years. And as you said earlier, it was an opportunity to include them, and so as I walked into the shop, this person, one of the owners of the shop, had just gotten a call that someone who was very close to her had died of a heart attack, and she was obviously very upset, and so we had the opportunity to talk, and it was just an interesting timing, and she, interestingly enough, was comforted by the fact that I was there, and she thought it's just incredible that I showed up when I did.
Divine intervention.
Interesting,
right.
Absolutely,
Sure.
just an interesting coincidence, and she was very positive about it, and I hope that they're going to be able to participate.
Whether it's any of those 1,000 folks in the room, virtually everyone there has in some way or another experienced heart disease or stroke. Somebody they know or love or am in school with or have studied under has been impacted by heart disease and stroke. It impacts too many people for them not to be associated. That's why we see year after year sold out event, and it really is an opportunity for people to step up to the plate to make that commitment. But for people who are donating auction items and getting those donor forms or the nice auction tents, this is a real opportunity to get in front of 1,000 people.
It is, absolutely.
Fixed opportunity for them to see your logo or to see your name associated with an auction item.
The support from the medical community is incredible as well. I mean, they come out in droves. And as you said earlier, Dr. Andy Gresko was one of our co-chairs this year, and he and his wife Patty really put this event on the map. I mean,
Right.
it has grown, just incredibly. This is the 13th annual, and so just over the years, it's grown to, as you said, 1,000 guests. I mean, just a big event, big deal for everyone, and it's at the forefront of everyone's social calendar. I feel like. It's, the place to be.
And right after Valentine's this year, almost always in the last few years in March, or even mid-March, and of course to see the return back to a couple of days after Valentine could be a great Valentine present.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
For a business owner or otherwise to buy a table or so to thank many of his or her employees, or also that opportunity for a loved one to buy something to treat a spouse or significant other.
Certainly, and with the sponsorship opportunities that you mentioned before, it's not only good press, it's not only the right thing to do, but it's an opportunity to attend the event and to take coworkers, clients, whatever, friends, family, whatever for a great night. It really is.
Break down a typical gala night, Todd, for viewers who may not have attended in the past. Of course, in our viewing area, there's one in Florence, there's one up in Darlington. They're all over, some up in Fayetteville. But, of course, for this area, for Horry and Georgetown County, this is the big event of the year, the premier event of the year. What's a typical evening like? I believe it's a 6 to midnight event.
Yes. Well, first on the agenda are cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, just an opportunity to gather and see friends. And during that same time, of course, the silent auction is an important piece. And so we start the bidding earlier to get the most out of that, and just some great items. We always have an incredible auction, and it has grown each year as well. And so that's a big part of that first part of the evening. Mm-hmm. And close to 8 o'clock, we're seated for dinner, and always just a great menu. I think this year some of the salmon,
filet and salmon I saw, yeah.
Lobster ravioli.
Ravioli, so, that's right.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And so great food. And following dinner, there's kind of a welcome and just an opportunity to for the sponsors and whatnot to be thanked, and just exactly what we're doing there, what the money will be raised for. And that's a great thing. You know, it's good to hear how that money is going to be put to use. And then we'll start with the live auction, which is one of the highlights of the evening.
Oh, yeah.
5 or 6 of the most exciting items up for bid or auction are featured there, and we'll have David Bennett. Coach David Bennett is our auctioneer this year.
Is that right?
That's
the coach
really
out of
cool.
Coastal, yeah.
Absolutely. So we're very excited about that opportunity. And Diane Devon Stokes is our host for the evening. She's going to be emceeing the event, and she's graciously agreed to do that. And so really an all-star cast, and it's just going to be a great night, a lot of fun. And then we finish with the band, Jumpstart, live band, and dancing and lots of fun. So,
Jumpstart is playing this
yes.
year, and they were in last year.
They were. So those who have attended the event should certainly be familiar, and they're always a crowd pleaser.
And I think there's some benefits of signing up not only early, but also signing up for a good sponsorship level of getting preferred seating around the dance floor and having potentially a little better, albeit every seat in the house is a great seat. Every seat in there is a great seat.
And just to bring up, the timing is a little different. As you said, the event's earlier this year, and so want to encourage our returning sponsors and new sponsors alike. Go ahead and get that information in. Go ahead and get your forms in, get your check in, so that you can enjoy this preferred seating and you can enjoy as much exposure as possible through different advertising.
And the number again is 843-626-3939.
That's right.
Easy one to remember, 626-3939, and they're there all the time. And if they're not there, I know your 241-7218 number, but also to leave a message for folks who want to get that auction form, to donate an item to get in front of 1,000 people, or if they want to get a sponsor, a proposal or sponsor package, mail back out to them. So many of the returning sponsors got packages over the holidays. Hopefully they're pouring through those over the last couple of weeks and will quickly get those in. But as you said, we still have 5 weeks to take advantage of some of the TV airtime, the print space, and other radio time donated to really make this event successful. What's the goal this year, Todd?
We are shooting for $395,000.
Oh, come on.
So it's the biggest year yet. And
$395,000? That's insane.
But our volunteers are really going after it. We have Renee Minkin is heading up our sponsorship efforts as the chair of that committee. Shannon Camp is our auction chair. And I mean, they're just doing a great job and really going after it. And so I feel like we're just going to have the best year ever.
We're going to see it happen. Now, of course, you're familiar with the auction, Todd.
Yes.
You've been the auction chair of the last 5 years, I guess 4 of the last 5?
I believe so, yes.
Mary Jo Rogers stepped in one year, which was a tremendous year, and we've seen back-to-back growth year after year.
Yeah, she's just awesome. So, yeah.
What does an auction normally raise?
Anywhere from, I think the first year that I was involved at all, about 50,000.
Right.
And this last year, I think we hit 150.
Is that right? Golly.
I can't swear.
At least north of $100,000. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is a lot.
Of 100,000.
Last year there was a '76 Eldorado Caddy convertible. I think only 20,000 miles donated.
Leo Van Veen.
Yes. which was very kind donation.
generous.
And of course, Redline Power Sports is back on board this year. I hate to even mention any of them,
Right.
because all of them are so important.
They
Whether
are.
it's a lamp or a light from Myrtle Beach Lighting, or a Segway from Redline Power Sports,
Yes, a
or
team
or a
effort.
caddy.
That's right.
That's right. At all levels, and you've got to have the small ones to help fill up the room.
That's right. Well, and every guest is different. Their needs are different, their interests are different, and their budget's different.
Right.
So we may say, oh, well, I can contribute. I can bid on this item that's $100, as opposed to someone else is perhaps looking at a Segway or a golf cart, something along those lines.
Year after year, the Heart Bowl also has tremendous decorations, right?
They do. Dandelion
Right.
and Rita
Siegel Levine,
Siegel
yeah.
Levine. She's just so creative and so generous, and year after year she comes out with just the most innovative of decorations, and really brings the room alive. It's important.
And this year particularly tough for her with Valentine's
3
right
days
before him,
before.
but she doesn't flinch at
very
all.
brave.
She quickly steps up. You say very brave. She quickly steps up to the plate and commits whatever the date is. I bet she'd probably do it if it was on Valentine's. Knowing Rita,
She would.
Yeah.
That'd be tough.
She'd find
We'd
a way.
probably all be crazy, but yeah, she'd step up, I think.
And how about the 40? We just got a couple of minutes, Todd. The 48 hours leading up to it for you and all the other volunteers, and it is so key. There is still room for volunteers to step up if they called
certainly.
you or called the Heart Association office.
Certainly. Critical things that have to happen every year. We're subject to the hotel or the space that we are taking advantage of. They have other perhaps groups that come in, and so we never know how much lead time we're going to have. We've had the earliest is Friday. We can get in the day before, but we've had times where there's been an event in our auction rooms and whatnot at 12 o'clock the day of the event.
No.
And so the turnaround is just incredible, and it really matters, the number of people that you have coming out, transporting items from wherever they've been stored, whether it be the office of American Heart Association or individual volunteers or, the donors themselves, and getting all that stuff together and displayed in a pleasing manner,
Right.
decorations and just kind of setting things up. So the auction is a big piece of that. But then also we have to set up the ballroom from the standpoint of making sure that the audiovisual equipment, and
Right.
making sure that the sponsorships, that their signage is correct,
Right.
and that we have the correct number of chairs at each place settings, chairs, at each table. Some tables are for 8, some are for 10, and all those little details. It's the night of the event, it matters because everyone's ready to get there and have a good time. And if you have 2 more guests than you have chairs, that's a problem. So every little detail, really, in that last 48 hours starts to come together. Program, just making sure that everything is taken care of. There are inserts for programs if you have additional auction items and whatnot. The decorations, that's when, because obviously an event of this magnitude, the decorations involve a lot of fresh flowers and that sort of thing. So as we mentioned, Rita, those hours are critical for her and her volunteers because you got to put those fresh flowers together at virtually the last minute. So.
It is virtually the last minute. And speaking of that, we've run out of time. Todd, thanks so much for being with us
Thank
this
you,
morning.
Greg.
Thanks for volunteering as always. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Todd Harms coming up next. The key word really is volunteers. To put on an event to raise $395,000, you've got to have dedicated volunteers. Todd Harms, Andy Gresco, all the volunteers. You can't even begin naming them. Rita Siegel Levine, we talked about, obviously Renee Minkin and Shannon Camp, and even the hard-working staff of the Heart Association. Tammy Eves, year after year, puts it on and works so hard. But it is key volunteers. There's still room and there's still opportunity to volunteer. Call the Heart Association office at 843-626-3939 or Todd at 241-7218. They want you to call. They need some help. We have less than 5 weeks. You can be a part of helping to fight heart disease and stroke. Give them a call.